Hey everybody, welcome to homerecordingmadeeasy.com, visionrecordingstudios.com, and here on my YouTube channel. And today, as the title reads in this video, I'm sure I got a bunch of angry viewers already. Yes, I did a video on the 15 things I like about the new Studio One version 3, and now this video is the 5 things that I don't like about Studio One version 3. Or I should say, the 5 things that I think needed to be added and enhanced, enhancements to be made for workflow purposes. Now, before we start, let me just say that no, I'm not here to bash Studio One version 3. I love Studio One version 3. It's my go-to DAW, and I promote Studio One version 3 all the time, telling people how great I think it is. And I do. Version 2 is great. Version 3 is even better. However, there are a few things I wish they would have put in this version that might be coming in an update somewhere. I don't know. Don't know if any of the boys at Presonus will even see this video, and if they do, hey, these are just some of my suggestions, but who am I? I'm nobody. But these are things that I think that are missing, that are part of some other DAWs that I've used, and I think it's, for my personal workflow, would be helpful to me. Let's just jump right in. Again, this is not the bash Studio One in any way, shape, or form. This is just my opinion. And again, I'm not affiliated with Presonus or anything else any other products that I use. I just tell you what my opinions are. And, you know, you guys that subscribe to me, that send me comments and emails and call me on the phone, always say how much you appreciate my honesty and appreciate the fact that I'm just telling you what I use, and totally unbiased, and I'm not affiliated with anyone. So you're getting the complete, unfiltered opinion of what I think of certain things, and this video is no different. But again, I love Presonus Studio One. I think it's a great addition, version 3, upgrade from version 2, but I wish they've added a couple of things, and I just want to point those out, and I'm sure there'll be some other things that we'll find. And if you guys have some additions to what I'm saying in this video, please leave it in the comments. Let me know, and let the boys at Presonus know, hey, we'd like to see this in future updates. I think that's important. Presonus is a company that listens to its user base, and I think you know, we should use this as kind of a way to say, hey, here's my ideas as well. So anyhow, let me shut up and start. So feature number 1 that I'd like to see. One of the things that they did do here, when you're using, let's say, a Presonus stock plugin on this acoustic guitar, is we have gain reduction meters. I pointed this out in the other video, the 15 things that I like. Wonderful gain reduction meters. Pro Tools has this in one of their newer upgrades, but I think you have to buy the HD version of Pro Tools to get that, which is kind of silly. But anyway, Presonus put it in Studio One as part of the professional package. It's great. It's fantastic. Problem: you can't do that with a third-party plugin, only with a Presonus plugin. Here's a third-party plugin on that same track. Tons of gain reduction. No gain reduction meter. I would love them to do that with third-party stuff. Would be awesome, because that's the majority of what I use and what a lot of other professionals use. Is they use a lot of third-party plugins, regardless of what the manufacturer is. It would be great to see gain reduction there. So that's one of the things that I don't like about the new version, is they give you, I like that they gave you gain reduction meter on stock plugins. I don't like the fact that it's not with third-party. So that's number 1. Number 2. One of the things that I don't like about, didn't even like about Studio One version 2 compared to, let's say, Cubase, is the way they handle their plugin manager and folders and such. And one of the things that Presonus doesn't have is a way to easily, I should say, add a favorites folder, so you can put all your go-to and your favorite plugins in one place. When you look under the browser, under the effects tab, obviously you have all of your plugins, whether you use them all or not, whether you have them all installed or not. You know, a great example of this is like Plugin Mix, is a company where when you install one of their plugins, you install all of the plugins they have, but you only have license to a handful of them. Let's say you don't have them all. Well, a lot of these won't work unless you have the license and you purchase the license. Same thing with like Universal Audio, where you have Universal Audio. I have a ton of plugins installed, but I don't own them all. So to get to them easily is always kind of a pain in the butt. So there is a way to create a favorites folder. It's kind of a workaround. If you search my YouTube archive, you will see it. I have a video on how to do it, and I have it here where I have under files, I have some menus up here. I have a plugin mix folder with only the 3 plugin mix plugins that I use, my universal audio folder with all my universal audio plugins, my waves folder with only the waves ones that I use and I like. So there is a way to do it. It's a little clunky, but you can't get the job done. But what I wish you could do, which you can't as of yet, in the effects tab, you can add icons for your plugins, both for Presonus and for third party, which is great. And if you go back to the 15 things I like about Studio One version 3, I show you how to do that. But what happens is when you create a favorites folder and you put your icon, your plugins that you like in that favorites folder, you can't do that with the favorites folder. So in other words, if I drag this plugin out here and then I go to update plugin thumbnail, it will not do it here. It won't do it in the favorites folder. It only does it in the effects tab, which is kind of a drag. So I wish they would have a way to where you can, I wish the plugin manager in general was just better. And I wish there was a way to easily create favorite folders and then add the icons for it. So you can't do that currently. Maybe one day we'll be able to do that. Maybe in a minute at the end of this video, I'll bring up the Cubase 8 plugin manager and kind of show how much nicer it is, but maybe not. Anyhow, but that would be a nice thing to do, is be able to have a better way to create a favorites folder for your go-to plugins and then be able to add the icons to that favorites folder as opposed to just the effects tab. That would be nice, but they don't have that as of yet. So that's the second thing that I think needs to be enhanced here with Studio One. The third thing is being able to lock events on the timeline. This is huge for me, and I'm really surprised that you can't do this in Studio One yet. Where you can be able to, in any other DAW I've ever used, you can right-click the event and you can lock it so it can't be nudged out of place by mistake. This happens to me a lot when I'm doing editing and I'm trying to do fast editing. I'm doing things like fades where I come up here and I go to grab this little corner and fade out the track. A lot of times you don't grab it in the right spot. You can move and you can accidentally nudge the file and not even realize that you're nudging it. And I had this happen to me not too long ago with a lead vocal track that happened to be sung in Spanish, different language. And I didn't realize that it was slightly out of time. It was just enough to be out of time that the client actually caught it and I had to go back and fix it. Kind of embarrassing, kind of sloppy on my part, but you should be able to lock this so it can't be moved. I know in Pro Tools you can, and I know in Cubase you can lock it so it just can't be moved in time, but you can still edit it and you can still do fades and you can still do, you could still do slices or erases or whatever you're going to do, which is really cool. But you can't, move the thing from left to right and bring it out of time. That would be super, and you can't do that. And I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I wish they would add that. So that's another thing that I don't like about Studio One is that you can't do that. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing that I don't like is when you're dealing with sends, and you can, let's just send this to, I don't know, anything. Okay, and here, it works, but it's kind of clunky. You should be able to kind of click in here and change, and just, type the value of what you want it to be. Or maybe it would be better if there was a fader, like in Pro Tools, where maybe if you were to double click on this, on the track, maybe this fader turns into a send fader and then you can double click it off to turn it back to volume. I don't know. But it just seems like this is a little clunky. I do lots of sends, and trying to get this to say at exactly 0 dB is very difficult. -0.4, -2, +2. It's just not, it's just not nice. I guess is the best word for it. It's a little clunky, a little difficult. Would be nice to be able to have a little more accurate way over this. I know in version 2 you could double click and you can type the value in. For some reason you can't do that in version 3. The other thing too is if you want to send and you want to use the panning for the sends, again, it's a real small meter. It's kind of difficult. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it would be nice to do it with faders as opposed to this little draggy slider thingy here. Again, not a big deal, just a little clunky. It would be great if you could somehow double click or somehow turn this into the fader that they use in Pro Tools back and forth. That would be really nice. Or ideally would be great I saw in another video somewhere, someone else suggested this. This is not even my idea, but I'm going to just voice it because I thought it was a great idea. They suggested that if you somehow double click the fader channel, that you could then, this would turn in, this fader would turn a different color, and that would become a send. Or maybe there's a button on the fader channel where you can switch it from output level to send level. That would be kind of cool. I don't know. That's, again, I'm sure that's easier said than done, but just thinking out of the box here, how can you deal with the send levels a little bit more smoothly than this? I don't, it's kind of clunky. I don't like it. So that's number 4. And then lastly, and certainly one of my favorite things I'd like to see, and it's probably not widely popular, but I like it. And again, I could do this in Pro Tools, I can do this in Cubase, I can't do it in Studio One, is that I want to be able to, for demo videos and tutorials, this is really huge for me. Let's take, I don't know, any one of these plugins. Let's just remove some of these for a minute. What I'd like to be able to do is shut all the effects off at once. And I want to kind of describe what I mean. So let's say we take, I don't know, anything. Let's just take, it could just be a stock plugin. Let's take the compressor and let's drop this on this track here. And then we all know now with Studio One version 3 that if I highlight these tracks and I just drag it over, it'll populate all the tracks. That's really cool. Okay. But what I don't like is, let's say all these tracks are now grouped. They're all highlighted together. Okay, so I can move the faders up and down. They're kind of temporarily grouped, which is great. I could do a Command G and I could group them all together permanently. But what you can't do is, let's say I want to bypass all these compressors all at once so I can hear what the overall effect of the compression is on all these tracks. I can't do it. I got to click them off individually. With Cubase and with Pro Tools, you highlight all these tracks, you click the first one, and all of these in the first bank, the first insert bank, will all shut off together. Or you can highlight them, group them all together, and bypass, and they should all bypass together. But this doesn't do that. So when I'm doing demonstrations and trying to show a lot of the people that are watching this video, let's say the accumulative effect of what vintage compressors or vintage plugin would do across an entire mix, I have to shut off each one individually, and it takes time to do that. You don't get that instant on-off, if that makes any sense. So to me, again, you can do this in other DAWs. You can't do this in Studio One. I know I've suggested this a couple of times. I hear it's not the easiest thing in the world to just do. There's kind of a lot of programming involved. But again, I would love to see that. It just makes demonstrating and teaching much easier. And gives the person watching the instruction an instant on and off across multiple tracks. Can't do that. So that's the 5th thing. So those are the 5 things. Again, not big deal, not like, oh my god, they don't have these 5 things so I hate Studio One. No, but just the 5 things that I think are super important to me personally, and someone who mixes and masters client projects all day long. Those would be things that would really help enhance the workflow. And hopefully someone over at Presonus may watch this and say, hey, those are some good ideas, or you know what, we've already heard that, it's on the list, and maybe it's coming in future revisions. But I'd love to see that, especially the locking on the timeline is huge for me, and also the shutting on and off of the effects. Those are the two biggest ones out of everything I mentioned. So anyhow, this has been David from homerecordingmadeeasy.com. To check out all my services, products, and things on training on mixing and mastering and such, go over to homerecordingmadeeasy.com or visionrecordingstudios.com. read my blog, go over there, see what's going on. Got a lot of stuff over there that's not part of the YouTube channel. And until next time with another video, this is David from homerecordingmadeeasy.com, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care.